Welcome to the Synced Up podcast, where we talk tech, digital media, and all things business. So this week, we're going to be talking about the seasonal changes in business. So let's get into it. Before we get into the content of this week's episode, we're going to be looking at what we've been up to the past week. So Matt, do you remember what you've been up to?
Well, a few things. Everyone knows of Wednesday this week.
I know what
It
you're
was
saying.
the hottest day of the year so far. It's possibly, it's just great when you've been throughout that harrowing winter that we get in the UK of short nights or like sort of long nights and short days, wet, windy, miserable, depressing weather, and then suddenly it changes. And that is kind of tonal with this week's theme and episode. But for this week, it's been brilliant just to have some sunlight to be able to go and do things. So, as an example, this week my son was doing a special thing at school where they had to try and find alternative ways to get to school. I think it was like an environmental thing where they weren't using cars, so like scooters, bikes, and so forth. So my son's like, "Oh, Dad, can you run with me to school?"
Oh, that was really cool.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's far." 10.9 kilometers is the exact distance from my house to school.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
We did it. So we did it on Wednesday morning, and it was the hottest day. When he asked me, I looked at the weather. I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it."
Yeah.
Oh, there's one moment as well. We're doing our run, and it was about halfway through, and just for whatever reason, the smell of bakery was all around us. There's not a bakery in sight, by the way.
Right. Okay.
And we both noticed it. Like, what is this heavenly smell? We're in the middle of the countryside, and I don't know if some kind of lorry went past that was carrying baked goods, but unfortunately it didn't break down. And whenever that, I was imagining, oh, maybe there's a lorry just ahead they're handing out pastries to people running past because they're gonna go off.
Very specifically.
It didn't happen though. But yeah, I mean, and obviously business side, it was it's been an interesting week as well. We've had a couple of projects we've been working on, a couple of introductions to new businesses, which has been quite exciting. We've been delving into some of your stuff that on the VPN side. I know we touched on it last week.
Yeah, into a deep depression of networking.
Yeah, we have to go really deep networking with your stuff. But yeah, it's been quite a nice, varied week. It seems to be a week where things are on the up in terms of activity. How about your side?
Yeah, so we all did parkrun together.
Yeah.
So your family, then me as well, just bolted on the side. Simon Hodgetts, he's a regular as well. We keep bumping into Simon. Big up, Simon.
Yeah. You ran with Mal, didn't you? But then you were meant to be pacing him and he just ran off. And you're like, Mal, come back. No, he's gone.
Because I tend to do a harder session on a Saturday morning of like a High Rocks gym session and then go do parkrun. So my legs were really tired after that. And then what was the pace? It was 4:20. It was around 4:20 per kilometer, which is quite quick. But my max is about 4 that I've ever done. So I was like, okay, I'm a bit tired. That should be manageable. So sort of started off with Mal, and I was like, Mal, just stick to the pace. Like, I'll pace you to start with, and then we'll gauge how you feel, and then we'll go from there. Pretty much from the start, he stayed just ahead of me for about the first half a kilometer. And then just started to leave me behind. And I was like, Mal, we're running at 4. We're running at 4:05. We're running at 4. And I was like, after we got it to about 1.5K, I was like, I can't keep running at this because I won't have a nice day. So I just let him carry on.
My son broke you.
Yeah. So he just cracked on and beat his PB.
Well, he did beat his PB by about 40, 50 seconds. And funnily enough, he's got back into running because he initially started and enjoyed it and wanted to get better at it. Then his focus shifted to basketball. And I'm not one to tell him, no, carry on running. Like, fine, do what you want. Do with where your passion is, I guess. So, but only in the last couple of weeks has he come back to running. And he really wants to improve at it now.
What do you think? Why What do you think the surge is? Why do you think he suddenly jumped back into it?
Haven't seen one. Maybe it's
Mm.
maybe he's got a High Rocks race coming up.
Mm.
So yeah. So High Rocks, obviously, we spoke about a lot in the past. They do something called High Rocks Young Stars, which is they grade it based on the child's age. So there's 8 to 9, 10 to 11, 12 to 13, and 14 to 15. And depending on what age you are, they modify the workout to be age appropriate. And both my kids are in it, and I think maybe that has inspired him to, or he's enjoying the nicer weather.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's it for me.
he's all back in, which is fun because
Yeah, I've got to watch out now as well because he'll start getting really quick.
well,
So
he's a minute and a half off you
I
at the
know I've
moment.
got to hold my title.
He's also been doing a lot of runs with Sarah, my wife,
Mm.
his mum, because she's trying to get better at running herself, and he's quicker than her quite considerably.
Yeah,
So when he goes running with her, he gets a lot of the nice, like, low effort for
yeah,
him relative. So he gets to do a lot of nice runs. So
yeah.
yeah,
And that
and
makes a
that is a
difference.
good way to get good at running as well, to do lots of nice slow stuff, and then he'll go do his high impact or high, because he goes to athletics, and then he goes to basketball training, so he gets all his like speed work in there.
Yeah, it's probably doing like on average one session a day. It's absolutely crazy.
We're peaking at the moment as well, because in not long time we've got our High Rocks race coming up.
I know.
It's really close
Just
now.
over a week.
I know, it's very exciting.
Oh.
I'm feeling pretty good, to be fair. My body's broken, but all my training sessions have been really good. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to this.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be tasty. Be my second attempt at it, so we'll we'll see how it feels second time round.
Any work highlights for you this week?
Yes. The biggest work highlight for me is tidying up. We've done it. We have finally done. If anyone has seen the studio before, there's always been a point on the tour of the studio where I've been like, please don't look in this corner, or please forget everything that you see here because that shouldn't be here. That's just a pile of mess. We've done it. We have tidied everywhere. So there is no mess anywhere in this entire building or outside. So
I'm gonna go hunting.
you won't find it. You won't find. I've done it. I've done it. There are strict boundaries where the mess can begin because I can't do everything, but that is outside of the studio perimeter.
So Josh picked me up today, and a call was coming through on his phone. He went, just answer this for me. I was like, and it was your mom, and she was so she was clearly agitated with you because you'd moved a load of stuff you just ruthlessly sorted everything.
Yeah.
And I think she was trying to find a few things, and you're like, no, moved it. Here.
It's gone. It's been removed. It's at the tip.
Wow. So yes, I think, and you also rang me yesterday when you finished sorting, like, I've done it, and I'm like, what have you done? You sound like you've been through the ringer.
I was a bit broken actually after that because I started off with a gym session, then went straight into that, and then I had intervals later on, and so it was pre-intervals.
And then we went to do the quiz.
Yeah.
Oh my! Day. I'm going to say something on that quiz as well, and you know what's coming.
Yeah.
So we arrived. Josh wasn't coming.
I didn't know there was a quiz. Okay.
Yeah. So. It's a fun quiz as well. It's a quiz that Rich Brown runs called and it's to raise awareness for his charity, the Joanna Trust, and he does it every year, and it's a really fun quiz. It includes guess the chocolate. You got to finish the you got to answer riddles. You got to finish jokes, and if you give a funnier answer than the actual punchline, then you get points. So, as Rich describes it, it's a quiz for thick people.
Well,
yeah, and it's fun. So you feel like and anyway, so Josh wasn't aware. I told him, yeah, come along. And funny enough, in my meeting in the morning, somebody had said, oh, someone has dropped out of my quiz team, and I was like, okay, fair enough. So let you know about it. And we were on the way, and I thought I'll just double check if Josh has actually got that spot because he might have filled it. So I rang David Chill. Like, is there still a space in your team? And he went, yes. I was like, oh, brilliant, great. I've got one for you. It's Josh.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, great, thank you. And then we got there and we were sitting down and I was like, there's a person short on our team. They're meant to be 5 people and there's 4 of us.
We already sold me to another team.
And I said to Jenny, what's going on? Or have we not got another person? She went, no. And I was like, oh, well, I've just A, convinced Josh to come, and B, farmed him off to another team. So we're now a man down, and I've helped the other team. And that would have been fine if that was it, okay? But then what happened? We came second. We were really happy about it. We were like, oh, we didn't expect to get that high. I said before they announced results, we might have podiumed here. We might have got top 3. And then we got second. It was like, yes, we made it. Guess whose team got first?
By 1 point.
By one point. And then Josh went, I contributed 2 answers to this. So I went up and I said, name one of the answers you gave. And it was one of the ones that we didn't get.
Yeah.
So not only did Josh add that point to a different team, but we didn't get that point, which meant Josh was the deciding factor, which meant I'm livid.
What's nice in that scenario is whichever team I'd have been in, I'd have won.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's quite a big achievement for me in quizzes.
That definitely means that next year you need to turn up and have it in your calendar.
Okay, fine.
And it was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, that's probably one of the best quizzes I've ever done because it kept things moving and each round had like multiple bits going on. Because when you've got a big table like that and you've got one piece of paper, it's really difficult to like sort of share it between everyone.
He runs it well, doesn't he?
Yeah. And it's really interesting and venue's good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd definitely go next year.
Excellent.
Cool.
So should we dive into the topic of the week?
Yeah, let's get into it. So this week's topic is seasonal changes and how that affects businesses. So with that in hand, Matt, how do you find sort of that seasonal change coming through, like winter into summer, or even summer, autumn into winter? How do you find seasonality for you?
Well, I can answer specifically about my business.
Yeah.
And I will.
Good.
But I think it's a good, it's obvious that depending on your business sector, you're going to be impacted differently based on the seasons, right? So some people, winter is an absolute dead period. To others, it's a very busy period. And we could try and list off some industries. Others are going to be like, for example, solicitors. They're probably not too affected by seasonality. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
Where accountants,
yeah, 100%.
it's front end heavy, isn't it? You got the January cut off for a lot of people's like self assessments and personal tax returns and all that.
Yeah.
And then you've got the April year end. And I guess most businesses, and some have different year ends, but most people, April is a significant time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's everyone has to do corporation tax and stuff in April. And then depending on just who your client base is, whether you, whether December, for example, can be either in some places dead.
Yeah.
No one's ordering, no one's doing anything, and everyone's on holiday. Oh, and obviously there's the other bit. The summer is the other one.
Yeah.
Are you an industry where you're affected by people going on holiday? I mean, if you're a travel advisor or you book holidays for people, then I think spring and the summer are going to be quite good for you.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be going on holiday. Whereas if you're relying on people placing orders, but then their team's cut short, then you might be affected. So for us in IT, we find that it slowly starts to ramp up. You see there's 2 big spikes, I think, in our industry that I've seen. So one is Jan.
Yeah. Okay.
So people actually coming back and hitting the desk and going, I haven't been turned on my computer for a few weeks. We took December off, and now you do get some issues turn up in Jan.
Yeah.
And the other side of it is people starting to initiate plans. So they've gone new year, new us. Yeah. We're a new business. We're going to transform our business. Those things that we were putting on hold in December and the back end of the year, we're now going to action.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
see those twofold. So that happens. So January usually kicks off with a bang,
Yeah.
which is quite jarring. And I think I probably spoke about it in a previous podcast. It's quite jarring when you go
Mhm.
from like the quietest month of the year to pretty much the busiest.
Yeah. Yeah. So December's quite a busy, quite a quiet
Yeah,
month.
People just aren't at their computers, and
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Winding
And
down.
people are generally aren't making decisions to like start businesses in December and stuff
Yeah.
like that, or make big changes. No one's doing that in December on our side.
Is anyone good enough to forewarn you of what their plan is for like the rest of the year for like January, or is it just like
Yeah,
January starts and
yes, but most people know.
okay, yeah.
So some people who are quite organised will give us like heads up, let us
Okay,
know
that's good.
what's coming, but most people don't. Most people
Yeah.
go, "Oh, we've got a new starter starting tomorrow." Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you deal with that? Thanks.
yeah, yeah. And the other one is coming back after summer, so August. No, sorry, September.
Mm,
So August into
okay.
September becomes quite busy for us because people go and do their summer holiday bits, and
Mm,
for the last quarter of the year, they're starting to then ramp up. So September usually gets so busy it spills into October, and
right.
then it sort of winds down. So we get two peaks. I
Okay.
mean, we've got the seasonality of, you know, it's always nice. Everyone loves summer, I think. Who
Mm.
likes winter? Like
Yeah.
other than the
Mm.
snow side or winter sports, who really wants to be in winter?
Yeah. Not snow in this country though. We get
No,
we just get cold rain.
cold. Yeah, what temperature? That's how you know between the summer and winter in the UK.
Mm.
What's the temperature of the rain?
Yeah.
So, your side, what do you see in terms of seasonality? How are you affected?
So the beginning of the year is usually there's often a little bit of spill. So things that are happening December, there's often a little bit of spill into January because generally if we're doing a project in like the last few weeks of December, its delivery isn't it's not required until January, like early January. So it's usually something that's like in preparation for a launch campaign or whatever. So they don't although a lot of the time we try and deliver beforehand, there's usually like that first week back where they're not going to launch it on the first week because everyone's getting back into things. So we usually get like, the first week or the first couple of weeks as like like an intro. So it's kind of a bit weird because you'll be like working on a project, then you get what, like 2 weeks out, and then you come back in, you're like, what project were we working on again? Oh yeah, that one. Oh, we got to finish that. So there's usually a bit of spill there. Then it goes really quiet. February is usually the quietest month, where I think it's that sort of that Christmas period. People are just coming back into January and figuring out what sort of new campaigns we want. So they're sort of figuring out next steps for the year, which is not quite got us involved yet. So we sort of find February, which is usually the big slog month in terms of it's been cold, it's still dark, it's really quiet. And then it usually gets kicked, like starts kicking things off around March time, and then April when you get the new tax year, when all the new budgets are released, suddenly it's like goes absolutely mental, and then carries on over summer. And then generally, yeah, it gets a little bit quieter when people go on holiday.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing, August sort of time, that tends to dip off a bit. And then it comes up again September into, the rest of the year.
So I think it's almost like flip reversed in the 1 month. So December is the key one, right? For us, it's very quiet. For you, it seems to be quite busy, but the rest of the year
Yeah.
kind of trends around that same thing.
Yeah.
But we've got because January is quite busy, it makes our February quite busy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair to say as well, depending on your business model, the seasons can affect you differently. So for us, for example, when we've got clients, a lot of times they're on monthly retainers or monthly management or support contracts. And so we are there as a service throughout.
Hmm.
Whereas a lot of your work is more project based.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the seasons will affect you more harshly
Yes.
when it's quiet and there's not so many projects. Obviously, there's less to invoice, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you'll find that in certain other trades, like, I don't know, pubs and restaurants, maybe
Mm.
for
Yeah.
parts of the year where they're quieter. Or what's the other one I'm trying to think of? It's hotels, presumably anything.
Those,
Tr-
yeah, especially
tra-
in this country where people don't want to necessarily travel. Uh,
Retail as well. Obviously, a lot of retailers have huge sales coming up to Christmas,
mm,
and they're not. But I guess my point was,
guess,
we're kind of, for us, because it's we do get our project work in, and but then we've got monthly things to do, and the busyness carries on throughout. We're usually okay. Where some companies can get really negatively affected when
mm,
business dies down, and
yeah,
then it feels like, especially if like February and March are quiet, when you're going through, you got your payroll runs, you then go through to your, and then coming into year end and
mm.
corporation tax and all that sort of
that,
stuff.
that for me is that it's basically this time of year now. I almost dread is a strong word, but I'm in the back of my mind. It's when everything aligns in like the worst way,
Yeah.
because you get year end. There's always VAT. You'll obviously have payroll on that same month as well. So everything, did I say corporation tax?
Well,
I
you
don't know
said
if I did.
year end, so
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. So basically everything aligning in one big hit, and it's probably
on the back of
takes
the quieter period as well.
yeah. It's like you watch the bank balance and like all year you've been like, oh yeah, we're getting some good savings in, like good buffer period, and then you hit sort of like end of January, February, and it's like, oh my God. Right, we need to get some work in.
And I think it's important to talk about this because almost every business will have those moments, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And it might hit different parts of the year or parts of the year that you might not expect. Like you've got the quieter Jan Feb leading into the corporation tax and
Mm,
VAT quarter and all that sort of stuff. Other companies might have they go really quiet in the spring or the summer or whichever, and we all have those struggles and challenges. Depends on, and the best thing I think you can do is plan for it,
yeah.
set those savings aside. You know it's going to be quieter in and March, so when you've got loads of money in the bank in November or December and you're like, oh, we've made it, let's go spend all that
Yeah,
money.
don't do it.
Then you know actually we've got those tough months coming.
Mm,
Or is there some kind of um thing you can do where you introduce a service or an offering that can help you get that extra business? It's why you will often see certain businesses doing sales at certain times of the year, or
mm,
like when you'll see like a pub offering a Tuesday curry night or something. They're trying to draw people in to the quietest day of the week.
yeah.
They're trying to address their, and that's an interesting one. Like pubs, yeah,
Mm,
they have a weekly kind of like season, don't they? Because
yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday busy,
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday dead
Yeah.
generally. So what can we do on Wednesday? Oh, let's do a quiz night.
Yeah.
Let's do a curry night. Something to try and draw up that interest, right? What can you do for video in Feb?
Mm. I mean that is the thing because obviously if it's outdoor, if you're planning a shoot and you're planning it around things looking, things looking their best, especially if there's any sort of foliage involved. This is like winter is not the time to do it because everything looks brown. That almost, I think people know that as well, so we don't even get asked a lot of the time. And even if we do, we tend to be like, let's have a look at sort of April, May time when things have really, everything's gone green and flowers are out and all of that. But there are other sort of services as well that do work.
Well, I'm wondering, could you do, because you could lean into the seasonal changes a little bit. So
Mm.
within the different seasons, there's different opportunities, right? So in
Mhm.
winter, you've got Christmas,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and there's an opportunity there to market around Christmas. I'm
Yeah,
thinking from like a marketing angle more than anything.
yeah,
It's Easter falls April, so
yeah.
it's kind of in the transition, really, isn't it, of spring to.
Sort of the launch of anything green and any sort of outdoor shoots.
What could you do in some like summer and autumn? I mean, I guess there's opportunity there to lean into those areas for all that's
Mm.
it.
I mean, summer and autumn, that just continues on because everything still looks great. Although summer last year was almost a little, because it was so hot, things started to go brown again.
I've got a
So
short-term memory. I can't remember last year's summer. Everyone,
it was
someone,
scorching. It was so hot, Matt. Don't you remember when I stopped running in the middle of the day because it was so hot? but you were like, no, it's good conditioning. So you'd be out in like 27, 28 degrees.
I do remember purposely like going at peak heat on a lot of the days to get
Oh,
the heat conditioning in.
yeah. I
No,
remember you telling me about it, and I would be getting up at like 5 a.m. so I could just run in sort of semi-cool. We had a mad hot summer. So
okay.
yeah, so a lot of things went brown. I'm thinking a lot of like golf courses where, you've got thin grass and it
That's
just
another
got
one.
scorched.
Sports like golf.
Yeah.
I bet they get really hard hit in the winter month. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't see many people out on the golf course when it's got
Yeah.
20-mile-an-hour winds mixed with rain. And then in the summer, so again, I guess it really does depend on the type of industry you're in. There are
Mm,
strategies you can use to try and lean into it, prepare for it, plan for it.
mm.
But yeah, I think a lot of us face the similar sort of challenges.
But what you were saying earlier about sort of planning for it, I think that's a big one where I've heard of quite a few companies that they almost spend everything they get immediately. I mean, I know a few the worst ones spend before they even got the money in. They sort of like they have the job agreed and they're like, great, I can spend this money that they haven't even invoiced for yet. And you end up
Mm.
in this sort of like real like negative deficit sort of
Cash is king in
situation.
business because
Yeah.
if you run out of it,
Mm.
then that's when the real issues come,
Yeah.
because then you need to, if you can't do your payroll, if you
Yeah.
can't pay people, your employees will leave. So you have to pay them. But what if there's not money in the bank to pay them?
Yeah. And then it's like,
So
well,
then, well,
then
now do I have to take a loan
yeah, and then
to
you're
pay
paying
them? And then
more.
you're paying more. So you can very quickly end up in these
Yeah.
worse scenarios
Yeah.
if you don't plan your cash flow properly.
Yeah. I mean, my dad always used to have a rule of, I think it was like he wanted like 6 months in the bank. So if he didn't get any work for 6 months, then you're safe. um, 6 months
Easier said than done.
exactly. Yeah, I've always thought of 3, 4 months because I think if you get 2 months of absolutely nothing, then I think like alarm bells should start ringing at that. They should have started ringing earlier on, but if they haven't started ringing and you're sort of 2 months into it and you haven't got anything, you've got to start changing something fast. So,
The other way to look at it is there a way that you can transform the services that you offer to be year round?
mm,
So instead of somebody invoicing, and it depends how much cash outlay you have to do. So if you're a builder, for example, and
mm,
you've got to spend 20 grand, but you're going to get paid 50 grand for doing the project, but you've got to spend the 20 to get the parts and to get the
yeah,
materials, right? Then you've got those hard
mm,
outlays that you've got to do potentially before you're going to get paid, right?
yeah,
But if you're in an industry where it's service based,
mm,
then there might be opportunities to go, well, I'm not going to invoice all of it. I'm going to try and do a monthly plan with somebody
yeah, yeah,
potentially to help spread the or can you transform your services instead of everything being one off? What can you do that's monthly
yeah,
as an offering or an ongoing kind of um really just depend on the service, I suppose. So HR,
yeah,
let's take an example. Some people could do a HR service where you pay for what you pay as you go.
mm,
When you need us, we're there. Some people could do a more proactive HR model where, well, no, you spend £50 a month with us,
mm,
and we'll keep your contracts up to date, and we'll keep any employee changes or anything that needs to happen. You just let us know and we'll do them, but there won't be a bill. But they're getting that. They've got that retainer where they've got that client on the books and that money's coming in. So HR is a good example, actually, of somebody that can go, you've got one company that's just going to invoice for the body of work whenever it happens, which means if no work comes in,
mm,
they could be in trouble,
yeah.
but they might be able to charge more. I don't know for the one-off bits.
Yeah. I mean, I've always sort of thought, I mean, at the end of the day, when you set up a business, you decide how and when you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for a long time, I'd set up the business where we'd just charge everything at the end. But then, like you said, we'd have issues where if we had to, because we don't have like materials and things like that for jobs. But if we go and do, I mean, I did a job in the Shetlands years and years ago, and the obviously I had flights, and then I had a week and a half's worth of hotel costs plus car hire. plus the fuel for the car hire. So it was like there was a lot of
So
like
you spent thousands of pounds before you've
yeah,
earned anything.
yeah,
And the bigger the companies you work with, potentially you might be on 30 days after completion.
yeah. And the company who had the 30 days after completion would always pay 60 days after, which I knew. And we had another big job in that time. So you had two like massive. I remember getting a bit nervous when we took on the second job because we had so much going out. And you knew that the bill for both of these was going to be like great when it came in. But I was getting it to the point where I was like, oh my God, the bank balance is getting really low because we've got two massive jobs. So,
It's hard sometimes 'cause you can't dictate your payment terms
but
always.
what we started doing to sort of begin to shift that because it was always the way, and if we had to hire in voiceover artists or things like that, it was always we were always like negatively, we're always the ones out of pocket.
Spending first, recouping later.
Yeah, so then we shifted to 50% upfront, 50% on completion, which seemed quite sort of standard. Um, and now whether people 100% agree with it, we're still testing it, but we're actually looking now at doing the full project price up front because there's no reason, like on our terms we know we will deliver, and if we don't then we're going to give you money back. So we're confident that what we're going to give people is what they want. So by that we're sort of thinking, well, why would we charge at the end? When you buy something in a shop, you pay for all of it. You don't pay for it after you like, oh yeah, I've had it for 6 months. Yeah, okay, I'll pay the rest.
You don't go, I'll have a Spotify account, I'll pay it after I've had my 12 months.
Yeah. So we're sort of testing it a little bit, but nobody has had any issue with it so far, and it makes a lot of sense because then we're sort of ahead, and we can then put all our money into the
I
extras.
think you'll see the same in trade. Like you'll give us X amount up front. And I think it's fair, especially if you've got on costs. Like, yes, you're going to have to, especially when there are quite significant costs of hotels, parts, um, flights, all that sort of stuff that you've got to do. You can't be expected always to bankroll all of that.
Mm.
But you do find sometimes the bigger the player, the bigger they can just dictate their terms to the little
Yeah.
guys,
But
which can really negatively affect the cash flow of small businesses.
yeah.
Because it'll be the big boys going, no, we do what we want. We'll pay you in 60 days after invoice.
Yeah.
And when and you'll go into the following pay run or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, I'm a small business. It's quite harsh and unfair in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I've heard I've never come across any of these, but I have heard about companies that they won't pay an invoice, they'll only pay like a statement. So it was I think this was my dad used to have this issue where he'd send out an invoice and it just wouldn't get paid. So they'd send them a statement and then they'd be like, oh, fine. We agree we owe you this now, we'll pay.
Yeah.
And it's like that just, yeah, it's
We
a
could
bit
get in whole
cheeky,
realms
but
of then credit control and all that sort of stuff, but I think we'll keep that off because we're going a little bit off topic. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, cash flow, seasonal changes, it's all interlinked in that, when we go through those quieter periods, how do we manage ourselves and manage the business? 'Cause we all
Yeah.
have those tough moments, right?
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing for me is staying focused in terms of when it's quiet. It's there's always like sort of admin jobs, that things that need to be done, like tidying the studio, which has needed to be done for about 7 years.
Well
But
done.
so you pick things like that, but I'd rather have them banked up across the year. So when it's really busy, if I think of something that I need to do, but I don't have time to do it, it might be, I don't know, changing like a system or something. And
Yeah.
doing it in a busy period of time is probably a really bad idea.
Yeah.
But if you keep that banked and, stored away and be like, right, I know I'll do that when it's really quiet, that's a good way of like utilizing that time. But I find if I don't sort of save them, if I don't put them, into a task list, you'll think, oh yeah, I'll do that when it's quiet, and then it's gone. And then when you
And then it gets to the quiet, you're like, oh, got a load of time.
Yeah,
What
what should I do? Oh.
Might be a lie down. Right, on that note, I think we should dive into questions of the week. We've reached the question time of the podcast. And if you would like to ask us a question, please email in at podcast@synced-up.co.uk. It is also written there. So, Josh.
I always get nervous when you for the question. No.
It's completely gone out of my mind. No, okay, I got it. Imagine we've got a listener.
That's good. One day.
And they are about to start a business.
Okay.
Have you got any pearls of wisdom for those early few steps?
Well, assuming they've just listened to the rest of the podcast about money in the bank, I'm not going to tell them about that.
Okay, good. Let's assume that this person they've known about it for a while, they've got a bit of money, they've planned a little bit. Have you got any things that you'd give them a few tips?
Early on, it's easy to... like in the first year, you can sort of you can talk to a lot of people, and generally, unless you're a real nasty person, you're gonna like people hopefully begin to like you. You'll get your business out there. But if your services aren't up to scratch, or what the way you work isn't up to scratch, it's very quickly, I'd say within about a year, then that's when it can start to become, like rumors around. People can start to say, oh, actually, I worked with that person, that it wasn't a great experience, and that can start to negatively impact it. So it's actually, it's almost probably not, people don't think about it and you don't notice it early on, but it's sort of like 2-3 years down the line for your repeat business and word of mouth. That's where it's going to affect you. So don't underestimate the reputation of your business when you start
out. How would you control that then?
Do what you say you're going to do. So just be genuine. Like, don't, if you're going to bullshit, then people are going to figure it out. I've got a lot of friends who bullshit, and I don't think they realize that everybody knows that they do, but everybody knows they do. So nobody believes anything they say. So yeah, just be genuine and do exactly what you say you're going to do, and then people will respect you. So,
and presumably, if you're starting a business, you've got something to offer. So don't undervalue yourself or your time.
Yeah.
You might say yes to things you probably wouldn't say yes to in the future initially, but you kind of got to learn what you want to do and what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, and it takes a little bit of toing and froing to figure those lines out.
Yeah, like it's okay to learn. Like, you don't have to know everything, but I think as long as you do the best that you possibly can, and people know that you're doing the best that you possibly can, people will still respect what you can do. So, yeah,
and people like a trier.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's all gone tits up, try to fix it and try to figure it out, and you'll get there.
Yeah. But again, like, just being honest, when things don't go to plan, you've taken on way more than you can chew, and you're just honest with people straight up. You know what? This was way too big of a thing for me to take on. People they'll still respect that. Okay, it's not ideal, but what will happen is people won't then go say, oh, they ruined this project for me, and they go tell everyone. They'll be like, it didn't go to plan, but they were really open and honest about it, and I would use them again, but I maybe wouldn't use that service with them. So it's a lot less like damaging.
And it's okay to say no as well. No, I don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That becomes more important.
It usually takes a bit of learning to figure out what you don't do.
Yeah.
Go on then. Have you got one for me?
Yeah, my question isn't quite as deep, so
good. It can't be any worse than your question last week.
Got it. So what temperature, because we've been talking about the weather, what temperature is too hot? At what temperature Does the air outside have to be that it is too hot for you? 30 degrees?
Can you guys email in some questions? Because the fact that I've got this, it's ridiculous. It depends where you are, okay?
No, here, right now.
In England,
Yeah.
30 degrees is way too hot. Do you know why? Because
Got
all
it.
the indoor places get too hot and nobody's got aircon.
Yes.
Right? So then you've got a fan that's like an inch away from your face just to cool down. And you can't cool down unless you've got a pool. No one's got a damn pool in the UK. Maybe a few people. But yeah, no, we're not set up for hot or cold, really. True cold and true hot.
We're not set up for any weather, really.
No, we're set up for middling,
Just average
15
rain.
degrees with rain.
Yeah.
That's what we're used to. We're miserable about it, but that's what we're good at.
It's too much sun, too much rain. We just need average. A little bit. We need the classic weather report of it's going to rain and be sunny and cloudy all at the same time.
I think what you're asking is what's my ideal temperature.
Yeah.
And I'd say around 20 to 25 is my
Ooh.
sweet spot.
Yeah.
For running, it's probably a bit less because you do get quite hot on that. And then you're
Yeah.
like an idiot if you're taking your top off and running down the canal. So, yeah.
How many times have you done that?
Too many. So yeah, I mean, but walking around 20 to 25 feels nice. You feel that warmth. When
Yeah.
it got to 18 degrees the other day,
Mm.
you felt the sun on you. You got in a car. The parts of the car were hot to the touch.
Yeah. I had to
Like,
open the
whoa,
windows and do the heat
my metal
purge.
glasses are, wow, they're hot. Goes up from that. If you're getting close to 30 degrees, you're probably uncomfortable in the UK
Yeah.
somewhere,
Yeah.
unless you're in a beer garden.
I
Then you've got a nice cold beer to keep you.
think you still need to sit in the shade at 30. That'd be too much.
Probably.
I'm
So, I'm still not okay with your questions, right? You need to think, okay? Starting now, you need to think about next week's episode.
Think
Okay?
about what you've done.
Yeah. Sit in the corner and think about your actions. Email us there if you'd like to get in touch. Please do. And we will see you on the next one.